quite a few people have asked for this now, so I'm going to do it. At least I'm going to try to. A close-up, well, as close as I can get it with my camera, because it's not very good, of how to do nebula effects. If I've got time, I'll do the sort of the basic OSL lighting effect over the vents as well. You can do it with pretty much any colour you want. The Harlequins of mine are all going to be a pink colour, the Dark Eldar are going to be green, and the Eldar are going to be blue, and the Corsairs are going to be orange or red. I've not actually decided yet. Most likely red, because it's a darker colour. If you're painting nebulas, it's quite difficult to do light colours, because the blending is a lot harder. So if you wanted to do like white or something like that, that would be a bit of a challenge. So we've got a new one, which is currently obviously completely unpainted. It's just base coated. The base coat black that I use is it's just from the range. If you're in the UK, it's actually the plastic coat stuff. It dries really quickly. The coverage is pretty much as flat as you need it. Comes in big cans and they're cheap, so that's what I use anyway. This is the flat black one. Don't want it too shiny because I'll actually be using black later on to blend in the edges a little bit. So the colours I'm going to use for this, as I said, it's going to be the pink Harlequin colour. So it's Nagaroth Night, Ceramite White, Drushi Violet, and Emperor's Children. And the black I actually use is actually a Tamiya one. It's a Games Workshop one. It's a Tamiya one, but it's a lot runnier, so you have to be a lot more careful with it. So the first thing you need to do is do essentially it's more the inner segment, it's not the outside segment. Oh, and just for the record, I'm using flat tipped brushes, because when you need to do like a little bit of stipple effect later on, so you need to make sure that you can keep it fairly even. If you try and use a small brush and just do straight lines, you'll end up with just loads of lines and it just looks kind of weird. I've got three different size flat ones, because as you get closer to the middle you need to shorten size a bit. So there's a big one, middle, and then small, and I do have a straight one just for really small areas. But the first thing you need to do is grab the Nagaroth Night. You only need a very slight bit. This stuff is actually it's a bit like polystyrene. You can just use paper to mix it, it's fine, but it doesn't dry out quite as fast on this. So you see there's practically nothing on the brush there. It hardly comes off on my finger, but basically you want to do it looks like it's not really putting anything on, but it is. You just want to dab it on around the area that you're going to do it. So I'm going to do it just past this vent, down to the front and just over the top here. Just keep dabbing. You can see it eventually when it's on. You want to dab out the inside area. What's going to happen is you're going to try and go on the inside of that, inside of that, inside of that when you're mixing it. And then you're going to mix back out again, which provides a bit more of a blend on it. When you go back out, you'll go close to the edges, so make sure you try and just stay on sort of like the inside area of where you're doing it. You want to do that twice, so just get a bit more and just essentially just stipple it on in approximate areas where you want it to go. Next you get a bit of Emperor's Children. Just get a little bit on the brush again. You just want to mix it with the purple. Like I said, it doesn't dry out that fast on this. Keep it as dry as you can, and then just same again, just try and keep inside the area. And all you're doing is it's just varying colours really. It's almost like dry brushing, but it's obviously not. Essentially, you just keep going. Normally, way too much there. Normally, I'll do probably 3 intermediate coats with the Emperor's Children, then move on to the white. I've put way too much pink on it that time, so I have to grab a little bit of purple and mix it in. Like I said, you need to get as much of it off the brush as you can, otherwise you end up with big blotchy bits. It doesn't matter if you do, you can just go over them again, but it's quite difficult because I'm doing it upside down, so just building up the layers slowly. And then we get a bit more Emperor's Children, mix it in. So it practically doesn't change colour, that's kind of the whole idea. And just keep going. At this stage you probably want to swap to a slightly smaller brush. So we'll go down to the next size down, grab a bit more of the Emperor's Children, mix it in. And you'll see slowly as you're building up, it's getting slightly brighter in the middle. That's probably about as far as you need to go, at which point you need to grab some white. Again, just literally a tiny bit on the brush like that, that's all you need. Just mix it in a little bit. Wipe off as much as you can, and then just, you'll see the colours here starting to leave a line down the middle if you stick with the end of the brush instead of the flat bit, which is essentially where the centre of the nebula is going to be. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're outside the boundaries too much, because the first coat is just to get the area that you want. So once you've done that, a little bit more white. Trying to be a little bit more precise now, because you want this essentially in a straight line if you can. To the top of the one, and then the final coat is just practically plain white, just with a little bit of pink that's already on your brush. And with this, you literally just want to stipple it in specific places in the middle. Obviously that looks rather bright, which it will do. It's not much of a problem, because now we're going to start going back the other way, so a bit more of the Emperor's Children on it again. Just mix it in. With this, you want to dry it off a lot more, because what you're going to do now is essentially try and go around the edge of the area you've just done in the middle without stretching it out too far, which can be a bit of a challenge. It's not exactly a difficult thing to do, it just takes a few bits of practice to get it right. Go around the outside. This is where it starts to spread out. If you get too close to the edge, it doesn't matter, you can go over the edge if you want. I try and do little separate nebulas, but there's nothing wrong with doing a bit here, and then blending it all in afterwards. Just make sure that you try and use the same paint. It's probably easier if you get like a dropper thing, and mix it beforehand, but I don't bother because I'm actually rather lazy. So a little bit more Emperor's Children. That's quite a lot more actually, but never mind. Get as much off the brush as you can. And again, just around the outside of what you've already done, just stippling effectively. And once you've done 2 coats of that, you want to start going back to the purples again. You'll probably end up doing 3 of these. That's about what I do. It's about 3 of each colour each time. So you're doing essentially about 9 different colours on the way through, which is what provides the kind of shimmering effect. If you just use a couple of colours, it doesn't end up coming out right. So we're going out a bit more again from the centre. Obviously we're blending out. I've put a bit too much on here, but you'll see in a second, it doesn't actually matter that much. If you go put too much on, just go a lot lighter around that area the next time. So, and this is practically off. Again, around the outside. This is quite tricky to do when I'm looking down on it. But just go around once, that's all you need to do. Next coat of purple. It's obviously darker, and then the coat after this is effectively going to be just the purple on its own. So now I'll just clean the brush off a little bit. Some water. Make sure the brush is as dry as you can get it afterwards, otherwise you might end up sticking way too much. So now it's back to pure purple. Again, now the brush has got water on it, it's going to take a while to dry off. But once you've got that, just go around the outside first.